Welcome to the AgriMinds podcast. If you're in agriculture and feeling the weight of responsibility, juggling work, family, and everything in between, you are in the right place. I'm your host, Casey Bull, coach, speaker, and founder of AgriMinds. Each week, we'll talk about the real side of leadership, how to think clearly, manage your time, set boundaries, and show up with intention, both at home and in the field. Let's get into today's episode. Hello, and welcome back to the AgriMinds podcast. I am in a flippin' mood today. And I had this entire idea of what I wanted to talk about on the podcast. I have an entire script written out. I've been, fine-tuning the messaging, making sure that all the things that I wanted to say were, exactly the way that I wanted it. I had a plan for today. I was so pumped up about it. And I'm telling you, every single thing that could possibly go wrong today is going wrong. The kids are not having it. I've got 2 kids upstairs screaming. You can probably hear them in the background. That wasn't the plan today either, because I had 1 kid that was sick. So now she's home. But I have a podcast episode that's due today. And I'm sitting here thinking, I have so much stuff I want to get done. Everything is breaking. My garage door broke this week. Our mower flipping broke this week. I've got a sick kid. Nothing is going the way that I want it to go. And again, like I said, I had this entire podcast episode of stuff I wanted to talk about today that was much more lighthearted and enjoyable. And yet I'm down here feeling so frustrated. And I'm down here feeling so just, what the heck? And I thought, you know what? Maybe that's what I ought to record. Maybe that's what I ought to talk about is, what do you do on days where nothing is going the way that you thought it was going to go? On the days where you're feeling so overwhelmed and so stressed out and so just like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm about to break. What do you do? So that's what I think I'm going to talk about today. I don't have a script for this. I didn't plan this out. I'm literally talking off the cuff here. But I've been doing so much work on myself. I have understood what my triggers are. I've understood what Casey needs in the heat of the moment in order to calm down and feel grounded. And I'm just going to talk real life with you, because I know that a lot of people, whether they're influencers online or if they have a podcast or if they have a YouTube channel or whatever, most of the time it all looks flippin' rosy, right? Everything looks so good. And you're like, how do they have it so put together? And I've actually had people tell me that before about me. They're like, how do you manage it all, Casey? How do you have it all together? How do you get to do this and that at the same time? How do you do it? How do you manage to look like you're navigating life so well? And if you've ever thought that about me, I'm sorry to crush your dreams, but I don't have it all figured out. I don't have perfect days every single day. There are days where I struggle. There are moments at the end of the day sometimes where I bawl my eyes out. I lock myself in the bedroom. I do scream. I do take it out on my family. I do tend to have limiting beliefs sometimes. I do play the victim sometimes. There are days where I am so glad I don't have a video camera following me around and documenting my life, because I would probably end up in jail. I would probably feel so ashamed if I let everybody know all of the things that I do throughout a day, because I'm not proud of it all. And I know that there's a business I'm trying to build. There is a reputation I want people to associate me with. And so I do show up intentionally in the online space, right? I show up a specific way. However, I would not only be doing you a disservice, but myself a disservice if I didn't let you in on days like this. Because I would be lying to myself if I pretended I didn't have more days like this than not. Days where I am just on the edge. Days where I am clenching my jaw. Days where I am so tense and so tight wound and I just can't, I just want to explode, right? I have those days and I know you have them too. I know that if you're listening to this podcast episode, you're probably a farmer or a rancher or somebody in the agriculture space that has days where has hit the fan and you're just like, what is going on? Everything was fine. And now all of a sudden, everything's breaking down. Nothing's going the way that you want it to go. Like, I just can't catch a break. And today's one of those days for me. And I want to share with you how I calm myself down, get grounded, and try to move through the rest of the day better than what I just had. And so one of the things that I do, thank you to Greg Kruger for this, but he was one of the speakers at the AgriMind Summit, and he did an entire session on nervous system regulation and breath work. And so I've been doing a ton of work with him since the summit, before the summit, during the summit, and after the summit, around getting my nervous system regulated. And here's one of the things that he's talked about is like sometimes when you experience high stress situations so frequently, that's just the state that your body is in. It just becomes its natural state of just feeling like high adrenaline, high chaos, high stress, and you're just like stuck in this fight or flight mode. And so many people are this way. So many people in agriculture are dealing with stressful situations day in and day out. Nothing's going the way that you want it to go. And you're just like, I don't know what to do. I just want to freaking scream. I get you. I get you. I hear you. But here's what we can do. And we actually are going to be having some live sessions around these very topics in more depth inside of the AgriMinds community. So if you're not a part of AgriMinds right now and you want to experience this firsthand, click the links in the show notes to join the AgriMinds community or message me and we can talk about it more. But here's just a little peek at some of the things that Greg has taught me to help me show up as a better person, because I can let this stuff add up and just eat me alive and just throw me over the edge here. I talked about breath work a couple of episodes ago where I believe it was like 5 things that you can do to calm your nervous system or something like that. But breath work is a big deal, right? Like when we were kids, we were taught, like, if you're mad about something, count to 10 before you talk, because that gives you 10 seconds to calm down, to chill out. And the same thing can be said today, right? Like if there's something that you're like, oh my gosh, I just want to scream at this kid, or I want to take it out on my coworker or whatever, throw something. Those days happen. If those don't happen to you, God bless you, because you've clearly done the work to maintain your emotions, regulate your emotions, maintain that nervous system. But for most of us, we still get triggered. We still let the things that don't go the way that we want it to go trigger us. And this is one of the ways that I try to calm myself down. Yeah, I'm home with kids all day. Yeah, I'm trying to run a business from home. Yeah, we're homeschooling. Yeah, we've got seasons that are busier than others. We've got high stress things that we still deal with. But I still have to take care of myself. And it's going to look differently for everybody. But for me personally, one of the things that works is I need to just have some quiet. And it's hard to find it. If I'm completely honest with you, it's hard to find time by myself to just breathe. It's hard to lock myself in a bathroom in the middle of the day and, not talk to anybody. Like I don't have moments where I'm alone very often. I don't have moments where I can take a breath and do a 20-minute meditation. But if you can just start with like one moment and just block out the noise, even when your kids are in the room, and just take some deep breaths, that's better than nothing. And I had to do that today. I had to literally be like, I need 10 seconds to just breathe. Can you just hang on for 10 seconds? And let me just process. And I'm sharing this with you, yes, it's a little helpful to talk about it, process it out loud, but I'm sharing this with you because I have a goal to relate to people. I don't want to ever be in the position where somebody thinks, "Oh, yeah, Casey, like, she's perfect and she's got it all figured out and she doesn't have any problems," because that is not the truth. I even texted a friend of mine the other day when I was having a day where I was struggling. Something didn't go the way that I wanted it to go, and I was hurt, and I was let down, and I was disappointed, and I was taking some things personally, and I don't know, I was just really struggling. And I told them, like, I'm not really looking for a solution. I don't think right now. It just feels good to get it out, to have somebody hear me. And so if that is you, if you're the kind of person that's like, I too have those days, I would highly encourage you to find somebody that you can talk to. And if you don't have that somebody, message me. I will find somebody for you. I am all about connecting people. I'd be more than happy to spend some time listening and, seeing what resources I can send your way. But that is the number one thing that I would encourage you to do is try not to carry it all by yourself. If you have a spouse that you can share this kind of stuff with, tell them, hey, here's all the things I've been struggling with today. I don't need you to fix me. I just want somebody to hear me and understand like all the crap I've got going on. And that can be so much more helpful than you think. If you're listening to this episode thinking, wow, this is exactly how I've been feeling lately, I want you to know you are not alone. Agriminds is not about adding one more thing to your already full plate. It's about helping you navigate those pressures, the stress, leadership, and responsibilities that you're already carrying with more clarity, support, and intention. Inside Agriminds, you'll find practical tools, coaching, leadership development, and a community full of agriculture professionals who truly understand the realities of this life. If you're ready to stop just surviving your days and start leading them with more intention, the link to learn more is in the show notes. I say that I'm not a big journaler because I feel like my hand can't keep up with my brain sometimes. And so it's almost frustrating for me to journal at times because it's like, okay, like I have all these things I want to say and my hand's not going as fast as I want it to. But there is so much power in journaling and taking the time to process what you're feeling. And there's this little tip, and I don't know the actual name for it. I probably should have prepped for this, but however, like I mentioned it a second ago, this was not a prepared episode. But there's this technique. I'm going to see if I can look it up and maybe my podcast producer can put a link in the show notes or something. But essentially you get a piece of paper and a pen and you're just kind of scribbling on the line. Like you can go from left to right on the lines down the paper, but instead of actually writing, words, you just kind of like let your mind do what it needs to do to process it. And you're physically moving your hand. And it is the most fascinating thing. And that kind of journaling is really helpful for me because it still helps me think through the thing. It helps me process it. It gives me that time to slow down and, get grounded again. But I'm not actually journaling. And so if you're kind of like me where you need a different technique while journaling, but you still kind of like the concept, but it's not really working for you, try that. That is helpful for me. It helps me get my emotions out. And if there's things that I want to make sure I don't forget or don't want to lose, I can legibly write those down on the piece of paper and like bullet notes, but I don't have to write the full thought. And so that's a technique that I use during days like this where it's like, I have all this crap going on and I can't process it. I don't know what to do. And here we are, 16 minutes in, and I already feel so much better than when I first started the podcast episode. I feel so much better, right? Like I like to process things out loud. My wonder is my working genius. And so when I think out loud, when I process out loud, it's helpful for me. So find the thing that works for you to help you move and navigate through and process what you're feeling and do that. Nobody has to understand it. You don't have to explain it to anybody. You don't need approval by anybody to do it, but do that thing. Maybe it's typing it out on a phone. Maybe it is saying it out loud. Maybe it's drawing a picture. Maybe it's running. Whatever the thing is, do that. Help you process whatever you're going through. But if you noticed, when I first started this podcast, man, I was tense, wasn't I? I was talking fast. I was talking sharply because I was feeling the thing. And here we are, several minutes in, and I'm much calmer. And I feel so much better now that I'm just calling it out, naming what's going on, saying, what am I experiencing right now? What is this feeling that I'm experiencing right now? What do I know to be true? What am I choosing to believe about it? And what do I want to do with this information? So, if you've made it this far in the podcast episode, what are you experiencing right now? What do you know to be true? What do you want to choose to believe and do with this information? Because that's exactly what emotions are. Emotions are signals. They're pieces of information that your brain is sending to your body to tell you what to do. When anger comes in, it could be a signal that something that you value is being threatened. It could be, something that you're trying to defend. When joy comes in, it's a signal that, hey, whatever you're doing is working. Don't stop, right? Like, emotions are information. And what I was feeling a little bit ago was overwhelm and frustration. And now that I'm literally processing this with you in real time. You have literally just sat in on a therapy session for me. But what I was experiencing was overwhelm and frustration. And now that I'm thinking this through, I'm literally talking to you out loud and processing this in real time, is that I was feeling rushed. I was feeling like my work was being threatened. I wasn't getting the time that I wanted in order to do the thing that I wanted to do. And that felt icky to me. But I think I also, in addition to that, felt guilt because I had to pick between work and kids at that moment. Isn't this interesting? I would encourage you to try this out sometime. Maybe you just talk to yourself in your voice notes app and just literally process what you're going through. What am I experiencing right now? What's the feeling that I'm having? What is this trying to tell me? What do I want to do with this information? This is the kind of work that I do with clients, but this is also the kind of work I have to do on myself. I have to coach myself so often. And sometimes I have my own coach where I can go to them and be like, yo, here's the thing I'm struggling with. But I don't always have a coach. But I do always have people in my circle that understand it, that have done this work too, that are a good circle of influence, who are positive and curious. And so if you don't have a community like that, I would highly encourage you to find one. If you need help with that, reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to introduce you to some people. But I feel so much better right now. And I just wanted to provide to you an example of what it was like to freaking spiral out of control and get yourself grounded again. And the way that works best for me is to talk it out loud and pretend I'm outside of my body and being a coach to myself in that room and saying, okay, Casey, what are you feeling right now? What's this trying to tell you? And so do that with yourself this week or even today. If you start to feel yourself getting overwhelmed and spiraling out of control, and really just sit with that and ask yourself, what is this signal trying to tell me? And if this is support that you'd like to have for yourself, feel free to message me. I'd love to support you in that. But I also just appreciate you being here and listening to this and being a part of some real life examples and real life. Like, this is happening in real time. So I just appreciate you being here and listening and knowing that I will always try to show up as authentic and real and true and just as real as I possibly can. So, okay, I'll talk to you next time. Thanks for being here today. If this episode resonated with you, make sure that you're following the Agriminds podcast so you don't miss what's coming next. And if someone came to mind while you were listening, send this their way. These are the conversations that more people in agriculture need to hear. Talk to you next time.